After 6 decades, the CIA did reveal the name of the official who was intercepting and reading Lee Harvey Oswald's mail. Why do you think we're just learning that name now?
We're just learning that name now because there is strong circumstantial evidence that the CIA was running a covert operation involving Oswald while President Kennedy was alive. The New York Times reported yesterday on this document. This man's name had never been made public before, and it gives lie to the notion that there's nothing significant in these documents. That is a highly significant disclosure. And I might add, the man's name was not withheld because he was living. The man who wrote the memo about reading Oswald's mail died 30 years ago. So his name was kept secret, not because he was alive, but because of the activity that he was participating in. And I don't think most Americans know that Oswald did have a connection to the CIA, that the CIA was so interested in him that they were reading his mail for 20 months.
Why were they doing that? And by the way, the man's name is Reuben Efron. And yes. He was reading for several months. He was opening Oswald's mail before the assassination. He was reading it. Why was he doing that?
That's a very good question, and the CIA has never disclosed why he was doing that. Now, we can infer that it was because he was a Marine and had defected to the Soviet Union, but we don't know that. The CIA has never explained why they were surveilling the man who had allegedly killed the president. They never disclosed the name of this man until now, 30 years after his death. So it stands to reason that all of this activity is considered highly classified by the CIA. So if there's 4,000 plus documents that still contain redactions, which is our best understanding, why can't we see those and satisfy ourselves that there's not anything more in there? The CIA is asking for us to take that, for us to take them at their word. And the fact is, when they've been disclosing this or not disclosing this material for so many years, right, there's no reason to take them at their word. We need full disclosure.
The other thing that Victor Marchetti said about Oswald was that, the Office of Naval Intelligence in the late 50s ran an office in Nags Head, North Carolina, which, by the way, also had area code 919 at that time. And he said it was for finding disaffected young servicemen of the various services who were smart enough and might be the right type to be trained to defect to the Soviet Union as for the purposes of serving the United States, and once there, hope to be picked up as an agent of some intelligence over there, and that way we could use that person to give false information to the Soviets. Let's remember, it was not called the Cold War for nothing. And he said that's exactly what Oswald must have done. And as it turns out, in the recent years, we've actually found 2 pieces of evidence to indicate that Oswald actually did that. The first one, researcher Mark Lane talked to a man who was a former Marine, had served with Oswald in California. One day, Oswald went to meet with some of the top brass, came back, and Bucknell, the person who gave the information, said that Oswald told him that he was being sent to the Soviet Union on assignment by American intelligence, and that he would return to the United States in 1961 a hero. Another one from a former CIA pilot, Tosh Plumley, testified in 2004 with the following statement. When I later learned Oswald had been arrested as the lone assassin, I remembered having met him on a number of previous occasions which were connected with the intelligence training matters, first at illusory warfare training in Nags Head, North Carolina. So here we had some young man, if we want to take this picture that's being presented, who, as far as we know, was a very happy Marine, given the opportunity to serve his country in a clandestine way. And he came back. He wasn't picked up by Soviet intelligence, so he came back. He's going around trying to find who he is and what he can do. and gets caught up in something that he has no idea what the outcome is going to be. And because there has been this little taste of cloak and dagger in his background, it would be very easy for someone who knew what he was doing to try to convince him that he was working for American intelligence.
I don't see how it gets any better than Carlos Hathcock. Okay.
Tell us about
Carlos Hathcock was the greatest sniper of the Vietnam War.
Yeah.
All right. He had 98 kills, certified kills. He had 200 uncertified. All right. And Craig Roberts was writing a book about the assassination, and he knew Hathcock because Roberts was a sniper
too.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I have that book. Yeah.
So he calls up Carlos Hathcock and he says, "What do you think of this whole Warren Commission thing? There's 3 shots in 6 seconds with 2 direct hits." All right, and Carlos Hathcock had retired. He now ran a SWAT team training center in Virginia with a whole obstacle course and everything. And so Carlos says, "Craig, I can't tell you how many times we tried it. And we lined up everything perfectly."
Interesting.
Okay, we had the whole 6th floor.
Right.
We had the distance. We had the speed. Okay, we had the angle and everything. Couldn't do it.
Right.
We couldn't do it. All right. Now, if that guy couldn't do it, you're going to tell me Oswald, okay, who was a joke on the firing range, he could do it?
Right.
You know, I've always said the Carlos Hathcock story, to me, that's it.
That's it.
Okay,
Yeah.
I don't even want to talk about anything else.
At the time that the shots were fired, did you look at the book depository building?
No.
Did you think at that time that the shots came from the book depository building?
No, I thought it came from a fence between the book depository and the railroad track.
Did anyone else who you know or who you've spoken with also believe that the shots came from there?
Most everyone thought it came from the fence behind the book depository.
Did you have occasion to speak with Forrest Sorrells, who was, of course, a friend of yours, and the Secret Service agent in charge of Dallas that day?
Yes, I did.
Did he tell you where he thought the shots came from?
He thought they were coming from the same place,
Which is,
behind the fence.
at the present time, where do you believe the shots came from?
Well, they came from the book depository because there's proof that it did come from there.
I see. This you've read in newspapers and you've read the report.
Yes.
Brass Check TV, free to you, not free to us. We've got a server bill, we've got an email software bill, we've got a tech helper bill, and that happens every month. So to everybody that is supporting us financially, that's paying for their subscription in one way or another, we really appreciate it. If you're not, consider doing so. Everybody's got money for the newspaper and the cable bill and all that. Do you have money for media that's actually serving you? That's really the issue here. And when you help us, it allows us to get this information out to the world. So thanks to all our supporters, and if you're not a supporter already, please consider becoming one.